Welcome back to Under Oath.
Welcome back to Under Oath. Craig Lynn here with my partner, Jeff Kaufman. I'm doing the intro because he's got some voice issues. He has to talk. His doctor actually told him he needed to speak less, and more welcome words could never have fallen on my ears than that. All right, so topic today is mislabeling products. So here's the background. So Panera Bread. You been to Panera Bread?
I've been to Panera.
Do you like Panera Bread?
They make good bread.
Well,
The soups aren't bad either.
they have a drink. It's called Charged Lemonade.
Charged lemonade.
Charged lemonade. And what's bad about the charged lemonade is they don't sell it in bottles called charged lemonade where you can turn it around and you
I
can
can't
see the ingredients.
No ingredients, yeah.
No, it's just
I'm
charged
just
lemonade.
buying the word lemonade.
Uh-huh. And they kind of, you know how they do with the fountain drinks. They get to your ice and they hit the charged lemonade. And I think some of them you can even go get refills on your own. But this isn't lemonade like you're used to drinking. It's lemonade with lots and lots of extra caffeine in it. And
I.e. the word charged.
Yes. If you happen to be sensitive to lots and lots of caffeine, say like, I don't know, a 21-year-old Sarah Katz diagnosed with a heart condition known as long QT syndrome, which means she has to vehemently avoid energy drinks. So she doesn't know that charged lemonade means that it's charged with caffeine. And I think I can kind of see her point, because charged could mean that, well, it's just charged with extra flavor. It's charged lemonade. It's like real lemony.
So if I buy a Red
lemonade.
Bull, if I buy a Red Bull and it comes out of a soda machine and it says Red Bull, just because I don't know what Red Bull is?
Yeah, that's the argument they're making here.
So it's like a peanut allergy kind of a way.
Correct. Like, you got to let me know that this thing has
Should I have an idea? Like if it's called peanut butter and I eat it, I got to know there was peanuts in here.
Right. But if you ordered something that was kind of ambiguous, soy products,
So like that, you and I had a case one time. Remember? The guy walks over there, he has an allergy. And underneath it, he was allergic to shellfish. And it says, we have shellfish in all of our stuff. So you think the way Panera can get around this is they have this big sign over their door. And it says, and they tried, and this is the way it works in California. Yeah. Everywhere you go, there's a sign, a kind of letting you know how we use cleaning products. I guess I didn't know we use cleaning products. Yeah, but they have to put a waiver with every ingredient they possibly do. And they go, before you get in, you have to click OK. That any product you have can have.
This company sells shellfish products. If you're allergic to that, et cetera, et cetera.
I didn't know that Red Lobster sold shellfish products. Shouldn't, if I'm in one of these weird protective things where it's very bizarre, I got a bizarre condition. I'm allergic to caffeine. We know that's a pretty bizarre situation. So I'm probably in the minority
Correct.
of issues I have.
You seem to maybe making the argument that people who have this very rare condition
need to be a little more protected.
Should somehow take responsibility for what they consume.
Yeah, maybe.
And if they don't know for sure what it is, then that's when they don't drink it.
Yeah. I mean, if I buy anything out of a machine or somebody gives me something that says charged lemonade, I guess it'd be a difference if it just said lemonade. But I think when you put a name before it, that might be ambiguous.
I put her on notice to inquire. Hey, why is it called charged?
You call this thing Screw Me Lemonade. You think there's alcohol in this? I mean, there are so many, a Long Island iced tea. This doesn't taste like regular iced tea to me. I think anytime you change a word beforehand, I think you might want to ask, especially if you have a weird condition that they can't even guess. Guess what? There's people who get jittery off caffeine.
Yeah.
But the idea that you can't have any caffeine at all or on a level they put it on, I think in a way puts that on you. And yes, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say it.
Personal responsibility trumps all.
No, I'm talking about lawyers. I'm right about to slap my profession. Lawyers are no different than, let's say, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has 50, 80 brands. They're always looking for the new hot thing to be able to sell, i.e., Coca-Cola sells water. If you would have told me that 30 years ago, that 30% of their revenue would come from selling just water. Stuff we used to get for free.
Oh, we still get it for free. We just refuse to use that.
No, we
water.
need this special water now. And they always come from the wells of this. In Florida, we got Zephyr Hill, so that's not bad water. But the point is this. Every business is always looking for the next money-making venture. And law is no different. We look for opportunities. Some law firms do. We don't do class action suits like this. We don't think about this stuff. But
this isn't a class action suit.
Yeah, but it's a weird one.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's weird.
It's a weird one. You're a stretch.
Definitely a one-off.
You're a stretch. It's just one that's not. It's not a car accident. It's not this. Hey, they came in the door and they said, this guy did this. Well, maybe we could sue him. These are things that are not normally done. And yes, there is an injury, but it's not normal. And we're trying to do something that's a little abnormal, and we're going to try to, crowbar it into something. And that's what I feel we're doing. I think we're breaking out a crowbar, and we're saying, okay, you had a duty to let them know the exact ingredients and everything you push out the drive-through door.
Well, you know what? I tend to agree.
Oh.
And
I'm not a communist this week?
Oh, you're still a communist.
God bless.
And it depends on how the lemonade appeared on the menu. If it says just lemonade and she orders just lemonade and they don't give her just lemonade, they give her this thing called charged lemonade, then I think Panera's on the hook.
They gave her the wrong drink.
They gave her the wrong drink. If she's ordered charged lemonade or the only lemonade that appears on the menu is a thing called charged lemonade, then I think she's got to be responsible for herself. She's the one that is particularly vulnerable to things. It's on her to inquire. And she was 21. I mean, this wasn't a 13-year-old kid. Would it change your mind if it was a 13-year-old kid?
No.
If the parents like, lemonade, Diet Coke for me, lemonade for my kid.
No, because it makes it even less the place's responsibility because your parents should have inquired because they knew you had this problem. Now, here's the thing that cuts me up right now, and I'm going to hit you with this one.
Hit me.
I'm going to pop you. Your head's going to fly off. You're going to go full Beetlejuice on me. That's the way this works. What if there are no lemons in the lemonade? Can I sue for that?
Yeah, probably.
No.
No?
Nope, because I do not tell you it's 100% lemonade. I could say it's from concentrate. It could be from anything. I just have lemonade.
Does it have to be a 0.5% lemonade if you're going to call it lemonade?
There's no rule set stone that says there has to be actual lemons in lemonade.
Is that right? Well, that's a tragedy.
What about fruit juice? Well, this is fruit juice, no fruit.
Well, I've actually seen on fruit juice where it says contains no actual fruit.
Yes, they want to tell you. But I mean, that's the joke.
Or fruit juice, 10% actual fruit juice.
Now they found out which was the burger chain that had no meat in their burger. No, Subway. No tuna in the tuna fish.
Oh, yeah. How terrible is that?
Wow.
I bought tuna fish and there's no tuna in the tuna fish.
Now, what are your damages? Tuna actually isn't great for you. Tuna and mayonnaise is actually almost as bad for you as like
you're misrepresenting what you're selling. So you're committing fraud, little itty bitty tiny fraud on millions and millions of people a month.
Okay.
It's not a big amount of fraud. They probably still would have bought it, but you didn't tell them. And why don't you tell them? Why don't you tell them that it's not tuna? What is the point? Because you're going to sell less. So you were fraudulent because you wanted to make more money. And I don't care if you were damaged or not physically, because you probably weren't, let's face it. But what you're doing to everybody in little tiny doses is worthy of getting your butt kicked in.
But how much? What are your damages? 1 cent? 1 cent per sandwich?
Well, let's say
$1 per sandwich?
Yeah, $1. $1 per sandwich.
That doesn't seem right.
$1 per sandwich.
I don't know. I think it's a little hokey. You're talking about, for example.
You mean the damage calculation is a little hokey, or you think it's hokey that they sell salmon and call it tuna?
Now, you've never eaten sushi because
it's disgusting and it's not cooked. Yeah.
Okay, but they have these things called crab rolls.
Oh, I eat the crab rolls.
Okay. It's not real crab half the time. It's imitation crab.
That's terrible.
It's Alaskan kingfish. Yeah.
Does Alaskan kingfish taste like crab?
Oh, yeah. It's good.
Well, why don't they just call it Alaskan kingfish crab?
Because people won't buy Alaskan kingfish. They want crab. That's how come.
So
you see what's going on
here?
You're
lying to me.
Yes.
You got me to purchase something. I wouldn't have bought it, but for the fact that you lied to me.
Do you think when you call something fruit juice, people go, oh, there's fruit in there? No fruit.
I think the first time you buy fruit juice, Like when you're 19 and you're grocery shopping for the first time by yourself, your mom and dad's not getting groceries, and you're like, oh, I got my apartment. Let me go to my first grocery store. And you look at fruit juice. I'm sure you think
healthy.
that there's fruit
Vitamin
juice in
C.
there. Yeah. And you get it home and you drink it and you're not drinking soda anymore and you're getting fatter and fatter. And you go to look at it, you're like, oh my God, there's more calories and sugar than the soda.
How about the word we put strawberry in front of anything? Strawberry soda.
No, I agree.
Strawberry fruit roll-ups. Strawberry this. It just has to taste like strawberry.
Well, let's roll a tangential.
How about chocolate? You don't have to have real chocolate in it.
Let's roll a tangential into this.
Okay.
Let's go to the one chip challenge controversy. The one chip challenge, right? It's there's poor 14-year-old Harris Woolaba died
After
when he took
yes.
the one chip challenge. Now, this seems to me a little bit different than the lemonade thing because the one chip challenge, I think they sort of warn everybody, right? Do you agree? Like, hey, this is not for the faint of heart.
It's not supposed to be sold to kids.
Well, hold on. Going back to our last episode, you would still sell it to kids because you can't make a rule.
No, the 7-Eleven.
You can't make a rule that you can't sell it to kids.
Can't sell it to kids.
You're
They don't have to ship that product into California.
Yeah. So if I make a rule as a state that you can't sell these incredibly hot chips to minors, you're telling me, last episode, you're telling me, oh, you can't do that because it's too easy to get around.
How do you get around it? It has to cross the border.
Yeah, I think what you mean to say is, you know what?
There's a difference.
I agree with you.
I don't agree with you.
I agree with you. You
disagree.
were right last episode. Thank you for apologizing.
I disagree so vehemently.
Thank you for apologizing.
I feel like I'm disgusted and I have this thing in my mouth that just wants to come out.
Like a chip that's too hot?
Yes, like a chip or vomit. What I'm saying to you is this. When it comes to selling a product that distribution has to come into a state a specific way in comparison to the internet where it can come from anywhere. You can't ship something in without it crossing a border. Now, the internet doesn't work like this. Now, as far as the chip challenge goes, we're creating something that we know is brutally hot. And we know that it could cause some health issues. We put it on the chip. In fact, we tell you, videotape your pain.
Yes.
Dumb idea.
Because most of the time, it doesn't result in people dying.
Most times.
And it's intended, right? This one chip challenge is intended for adults, not intended for kids. The kid that died was 14 years old.
Yep.
This is perfectly fine.
But we don't know he died from it. But we don't know he died from this.
Well, we do.
No, we don't. He died about 4 hours afterwards. He might have had some other issues. You know, it's like a COVID-related
Oh, you sound
death.
like a defense attorney now.
No, it's a COVID-related
You sound
death.
like a defense
It's a COVID-related defense.
For the purposes of our discussion, assume that it is true that he died because of the chip.
Assume that there was some chemical reaction he had to this chip.
Correct. Correct. Let's not say, oh, he had a heart condition and his heart rate got so high, and then his mom gave him some medicine, but it was wrong kind of medicine.
Do you think anybody's ever died after drinking a Coca-Cola?
Yeah, they probably have.
And do you think they were able to sue Coca-Cola and say, yeah, Coke, you're responsible for my son's death?
No, probably not.
Why not?
Because it would be too hard to prove.
Enough said. Chip challenge.
But
millions of people did it.
Get shipped with a skull on the side and saying, hey, for adult consumption only, one chip or one can challenge.
Death water. There's a skull and crossbones on water. It can't hurt you at all. It's just to get you to do it. Well, I died from this water. There was a skull on it.
Well, they talked this kid into buying a chip. I wonder if he actually bought it. That would be an interesting
if he paid for
perspective. If he actually got the chip and they're not supposed to sell it to kids.
Could you sue the 7-Eleven, you think?
I think
or wherever
so.
it came from?
I think so. Store? Yeah, if they sell a product to a minor that's not allowed to have it. If I sold a kid a bottle of vodka and he drank it and died of alcohol poisoning, you don't think I could sue the store?
You know they tried to sue Tide for the Tide Pod stuff?
Well, I believe that somebody probably tried to sue Tide, but Tide didn't make this product
Tide Pod
to be consumed. You don't die if you use the Tide product the way it was intended to be used.
Do you think they lost? That was bad for marketing like Jared was for Subway? You think that's what happened? No. Tide Pods, they go, we can't buy those anymore.
No, did they take them off the market?
No. I think they're okay.
Oh, yeah, they should still be able to sell them.
All right. But what about the chips?
The chip is being used in the way it's intended. They designed the
Spicy.
chip to be eaten, and people
Spicy.
are eating it, and eating it is, at least arguably, causing people to die.
Okay.
At least one
when
14-year-old
you say
kid.
spicy on the menu, there's a big pepper on it. And kids are allowed to order the peppers. There's some spicy
I don't know
Asian
they're
food.
allowed to order this level of pepper.
I don't know. There's some
Well,
spicy
is it-
food. My
well-
dad talked to me when I was a kid. I was on fire.
Chip company liable or not? We've done a lot of talking now. What's the verdict?
I think I'm going to say not liable for a very specific reason. I think in this kid's situation, he was the 1 in 30 million. And I don't think any product can be that safe that the one ultrally sensitive person, like when you're talking 1 out of 30 million, no company could be held to that standard. So I think that's a difficult issue, and I think it was a stupid thing. This is hot. It's like sour balls. What's that stuff? They have this thing that's super sour, and my face goes like when I eat it. But a kid could die from it. The 1 out of 30 million kid who's overly sensitive to super sour food. So I think that's why I disagree with it.
Companies free and clear.
Yeah,
No liability whatsoever.
1 out of 30 million, you're free.
Oh, well, how many deaths have been caused by the chip?
Well, this is obviously one.
Well, if this is the only one, then
You
I think
think
that
we
makes
wouldn't
your
have heard
argument
about it?
better.
We're hearing about
I
it
don't
because
know.
this kid died.
I don't know.
It's not like a Pinto
if
accident.
they pull up the stats and it's like 1,000 people die a year from the one chip challenge.
Well, that's a whole different story. You're on notice.
We might need to reevaluate the analysis.
I think it's all a bit of nonsense. I think it's all a little hokey. I think in our world that there are things that are damaged. See, in a civil case, a lot of people don't understand. You just don't require damages. You require a duty. That means that company had a responsibility to protect somebody in a situation or to make sure their product wasn't deadly or all these other things. But the question was there a duty here? Okay, it's hot. But the 1 out of 30 million people, that's like a step stool where they're going, okay, some guy, I promise you, had a bad knee or something else like that, and he stepped on a step stool and fell down because of it. There's nothing I can do to protect myself against a person who is just super eggshelly. So that's how I feel.
Super eggshell.
Super
well,
eggshelly.
I don't know. You may have just sort of talked me out of agreeing with you. You take your plaintiffs as you find them. That's the whole idea behind the eggshell theory. So if you're going to hold that, he's super eggshelly, don't you as a company have to anticipate that a certain number of people out in the world, just as a matter of percentages, are going to be super eggshelly?
1?
What's the number?
You said a percentage of people.
What's the number?
I only have 1 death. If you have 2, okay. But if I've only got 1,
So you get a mulligan on the first one?
like Michael Jackson, we let the first kid slide,
That's terrible.
But
And
I mean,
funny.
that's the way it works. Yeah, I don't see it that way. I see as an attorney, yes, I could have discovered that there's something ultrally hazardous about a product. But if it's not ultrally hazardous and the effect is on one person who goes, in this case, let's say they say, yeah, he had a heart condition and it was too spicy for him.
Isn't this kind of like, I know this was a few episodes ago, but we had a big discussion about hazing, right? College campuses hazing
Multiple deaths,
people,
though.
right?
Multiple deaths.
So isn't this sort of like a watered down hazing? Like, hey, take our one chip challenge, film your reaction, film your face on TikTok so everybody can see it. It's sort of like a rite of passage.
The reason why we have hazing laws is because multiple kids were dying or being severely injured. Multiple, not just like one instant, but it was happening all over the country. And what normally happens is when an event happens multiple times, then we step in. But a one and done, very rarely do we create a law for it. Like drunk driving, for example. The first guy who got killed by a drunk driver isn't the reason why drunk driving laws got passed. It became epidemic. We could, well, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen, and we have to be careful about it. I think in this situation, you have to show that this is something that's going to happen again. It's absolutely within a certain percentage that it's going to be repeated, and we have to protect our citizens. I don't really see that issue. For example, there are these jelly beans, for example, that mystery jelly beans, and one tastes like crap. You take all these flavors, you take the one jelly bean, and that's a kid plays it. And imagine somebody just
Jelly
going,
bean roulette.
yes. And it's funny, it's a game. Now we know that one of these is going to taste like dead fish or something. Now, if somebody's reaction to the dead fish flavor is he dies, are we going to say, okay, this company needs to be put out of business because the one kid who had a problem with the smell of dead fish died? The answer is
probably
no.
not. Probably not.
So I think we call it this way is I think it's because of the way it's advertised. I think it was advertised spicy chip. That's it. Super spicy chip. I don't think we'd be hearing about it. But I think because we made a big deal, oh, it's so spicy that you won't be able to handle it. And it was a sale. It's the sale that we're offended by, not the actual damages, which are like limited. Like I watched Shaq, who weighed like 300 something pounds, do this challenge, and he's sitting there sweating and he's drinking water and everything else like this.
I don't think it matters how much you weigh. It's like it hits your taste buds.
Well, if you're a big dude, you have a better chance of having a heart attack. But what I was saying is that we've seen so many people do this. I mean, remember Hot Wings? It's called Hot Ones. It's an internet show where celebrities get interviewed while they're eating spicier wings.
Oh,
and then they get to the top.
It.
Well, it's called Super Spice, and they get to the end, and the guy's like he's like losing his mind and everything else like that. Well, let's say there's been 1 million people who did this challenge, and the last guy just loses his mind, his teeth burn, he gets a heart attack because it's too spicy. Are we going to say, guess what? No more spicy wings for anybody?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
it's America, right? You got to be able to take risks. Got to be able to do stuff like this.
We had a ride in Orlando. It was on International Drive, and it shoots you up real high in the air, and then it brings you down. A child got killed, fell out of the restraint, and died.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, the ride was really safe. What happened was two of the managers, screwed with the ride. They changed the specs so that it didn't go all the way down. It didn't lock. They arbitrarily changed it themselves. But for that happening, it would have been impossible for this seat to kick up. Well, it was a $20 million, I think it was a $20 million ride and everything else like that. The company wound up spending $50 million. They dismantled the ride completely. Even though it wasn't the ride that was defective, and one child died. And I guess something can be so vicious that it sticks in your head so much that it justifies getting rid of something.
So you don't think all the hundreds of millions of people coming through Florida should be able to enjoy that ride because one kid died because a couple of people who worked for the ride did something they weren't supposed to do?
It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing.
Because that's the argument you make on all the other things.
I normally do. I do. And, you know, I think this is how we do things like this one chip challenge issue. We lock in the face of this one death so strong that we can't see the reality of it. So I still agree that the one chip challenge is a nonsense thing to do. But the idea that it's illegal or anything else or it's actionable seems incorrect because nobody screwed with the chip, unlike the ride. Nobody adjusted the chip. Nobody said, hey, let's throw on 10 more ghost peppers on it.
Yeah, but the manufacturer of the ride didn't screw with it. People who worked there after it was already assembled.
You know, it's tough being a lawyer sometimes because you want to help a family out. You want to allow them to try to put them back to where they were before an action took place. But you always have to be aware that the company that you're trying to hold responsible might not be responsible.